All right, it's time for another episode of Beyond Higher Heights with Vangie. I'm Seko Varner, the producer, and she's the star of the show. Give it up for Miss Vangie Williams. How you doing, everybody? Vangie, tonight we're talking about It's a Woman's World. How so?
Well, it's interesting. So we had a conversation last week after the last show, and I was telling you guys how I was raised by all women. My mother is one of four sisters. My grandmother had four. Can you hear me? There we go.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. So I was saying how my mom is one of four sisters, my grandmother has four sisters and several brothers, and I have six daughters. And I was raised by women, very strong willed women, who held the family together in ways that you never count on as far as a family. You would think man is the head of the household, but in all reality, the women actually did the work. Not that the men didn't go out and have jobs. Let's make that clear. They had jobs, but they were the ones who cooked the meals. They did the shopping. They taught us values that you can't you can't learn in a school. You can learn only by sitting at the table with family. And not only that, they taught me how to play tunk and spades and kick my butt every time. But it taught me the humility of losing and how you learn from that losing. But it is definitely a woman's world. Soon, fellas, we'll have a woman president. Hmm. Not me.
how was that? How was that impacted your professional life? You've been very successful. What are some of those lessons that you learned being raised primarily by women that have helped you?
She's a female too. Sorry about that, guys. I have an 8-month-old puppy who does not understand I'm on air live. No. I'm sorry, Seko. Go ahead and ask your question.
So my question was, you've been a very successful person as a real estate agent and a strategic consultant. You've helped the government to make changes that have helped the government and the citizens to enjoy a better quality of life. So how has your experience being raised by all women primarily impacted the way that you act or behave or succeed in the workplace? All right, it might be a woman's world, but it's definitely not a woman's Wi-Fi signal right now. We're here with the Frozen currently, Vangie Williams, who is a strategic consultant. She helps systems improve the way in which they provide services. And she's a award-winning real estate agent as well in her area of Virginia. And so today we're going to discuss how being raised by primarily women has really influenced her life. And she, once again, it looks like it might be a woman's world, but it's definitely not a woman's Wi-Fi signal. We may have to do this one again. We may have to do this one again later. Well, uh, salute to one of our viewers who said that's an interesting frozen screen cap. Interesting frozen screen cap. So let's see if we can get a better woman's Wi-Fi signal right now.
Yep. Moving around the house.
Well, I guess just like a woman having to multitask, right?
you know, it's like I've kicked everyone off the internet, and yet the internet is slow. How about that? All right, we're back in my studio.
Okay, okay,
I thought to get
okay.
away with not being down in the dungeon for a change. Okay.
Well, we like the background. We like the background. So, um, The question that's on the table is: there were a lot of influential women who helped to create the Vangie Williams that we all enjoy today. How
Yeah.
has their influence really sewn into your work life and your work experience and the all the other things you've succeeded in life?
Um, they taught me strength. They taught me that while you might succeed at one thing, you're going to be successful at another. But unless you try, you've failed anyway. To be that person that sets the example instead of an example being set of you. From education to career, what have you, everything that you do is it it affects someone else. And then I remember my grandmother always asking me, "So you did this? What was the cause and effect? You did that. What was the cause and what was the effect of what you caused?" And it stayed with me. And even while running for Congress, it was like, if I do this or say this, how does it affect this person? How does it affect someone in 5 or 10 years? You know, a lot of people forget everything, every action that you do causes a cause and effect situation for the next person that you encounter. It doesn't matter what it is. Have a child. It causes someone else to either have a positive experience or a negative experience. And for me, I didn't grow up in a cushy world. I was born in DC because my mother decided to walk up to the top of the Washington Monument while pregnant with me. Understand, back in '68, folks, they did not allow black folks to go up that elevator. You walk. So my mother, who could easily pass for white, my father's sisters were with her, had to walk up to the top of the Washington Monument, 8.5 months pregnant. When she came down, I came. But during that time, I know, during that time, it was a change in our country that was coming about, and it was a change that was unifying the nation. But it also was a change where it was dividing families, especially. It was like the Civil War, but no war. Um, my family is part of the Roots family, which is part of the Lovings, and the Lovings and the Roots and all the different biracial families out of Caroline happened upon South Capitol Street. So I was born in DC instead of down here in Westmoreland County or Caroline County. But the cause of that showed my grandmothers, basically, they wanted me in DC. That gave me a different outlook on life because if I had gone to Westmoreland, Washington Lee High School in Westmoreland County, or those school systems, would I have gotten the same quality education that I got in DC and PG County schools? A lot of people say, well, PG County and DC has terrible schools. Well, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's different when you are a minority and you actually have a chance to grow. So what they
Hmm.
instilled in me was the push. Because they set that path in motion, it has led to where I am today. You get what I'm saying? It's like cause and effect.
Wow. Well, that's interesting that your mother climbed to the top, and on her way down, I guess that induced your her labor, and
Yeah.
her labor induced you, who now have a labor of love to serving people and
Yeah.
focusing on the government. Um, okay, what other things have you learned from, let's say, your grandmother? I know that your grandmother was very influential in your life. What are some of the things you learned from her?
Well, between both grandparents, sorry about this, about my iPad is falling. Um, so some of the things that I learned from my grandmothers. So my grandmothers, I didn't realize how cool they were, until I started doing genealogy when I was 18. Um, so looking back at my family history, the women in my family have always had jobs of prestige. Um, no, they weren't just maids. They were like personal assistants to the various people they worked for. My grandmothers, one worked for the Department of the Navy during the 50s and 60s when there wasn't really many colored people working for those industries in the government. And I say that because my grandmother, my father's mother, and I think I sent you a picture of my grandmother with my three aunts. Um, she is black, white, and Indian. And she did not look like a black woman to them. They thought she was an Indian woman. So they hired her. My mother's mother, so that was my father's mother. My mother's mother, as long as I can remember and understand, I got a great memory, has had always worked at DC General Hospital as their food service supervisor. And I was like, wow, these women were in control. My grandmother told me you don't want to always be the person under someone, but everyone has a person over them. You want to be as close to the person at the top, not the person at the bottom. Because the person at the bottom needs you to get to the top so you can pull them up with you. And that has stayed with me forever. Forever. It goes back to you know where you came from, and now you got to know where you're going to go. And that was something that they both instilled in me. Never quit, never give up. Um, be that person. Be that person who
Be
be the
that
one.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Be the one. Now, was that
Yeah.
a primarily was that message germane to the women in your family?
Yes. My aunts, my
And
mother, so my mother's sisters. Okay, let's talk about my mom's sisters. My aunt, one aunt was a DC police officer. She was one of the first black police officers to work in the second district police force. She became one of the first women detectives in DC. Um, my other aunt, my oldest aunt, Peaches, she worked at what used to be Federal College, which became UDC. And she worked there for like 35 years and as one of the librarians. And she was one of the head librarians because she had an office. My youngest aunt had got her accounting degree and worked for an international accounting firm until she retired. On my father's side, my aunt Wanda, she's like another one of my heroes. Alicia, who was a police officer, Aunt Wanda, my aunt Argeline, all of them, all of them had talents. Wanda worked at the Watergate Hotel. She was their reservationist for almost 20, no, I'm sorry, 37 years until she died. And think about it, it's the Watergate Hotel. You know, she saw history like no other. But having her at that hotel actually gave me a gift. And it's the coolest gift ever. You're gonna laugh at this, Seko. Ready? Rosa Parks rubbed my pregnant belly and knew my first name as Lavangeline because I worked there for 1 year. To have my belly rubbed by Rosa Parks was like Mother Teresa to me at that point. And it was to say the least just one of the incidents that gave me that empowerment. I met the queen and king of Greece. Okay, how many of y'all knew there was a king and queen of Greece? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found out. I met Ben Vereen. I've met Prince. Another cool person to meet, Patti LaBelle. Miss Edmonds is phenomenally the coolest person. I, she's really chill. And she can cook with cornflakes. She fried chicken in the oven using cornflakes, and it tastes like my grandma's fried chicken without the saturated fats from frying it. I was in love with that woman. Again, pregnant with my oldest daughter. Um, it was life changing experiences. And I'll tell you, when my aunt passed away, my aunt Wanda passed away. They literally had to tell people, superstars, political figures, everybody who had met her, don't come to the funeral because the church is big, but not that big. And it was really awesome seeing some of the cards come in from people who you see on TV, politicians saying, we're going to really miss her. She was a great force. Um, she said she made our trip to Washington, D.C. one that would never be forgotten. But it wasn't just about her being the lead reservationist. It was because she gave them that experience of knowing that DC was home and this is where you go to find love, you know. And she brought me into that world, and it has been really interesting. My one aunt was a postmaster, not a postmaster. Postmaster for her firm. Left that post office and ended up leading her own cruise. And my other aunt is worked for several medical insurance companies, and she was manager. So I've always had women in front of me who are leaders, and they didn't back down. My great grandma, while she did not have a job outside of the house, my after my great grandfather got killed on railroad tracks down in South Carolina, um, she raised all her kids by herself. They most of them were grown, but she still had a lot at home, and a house no bigger than most people's kitchen, living room, and dining room. And she did it by working that farm and doing what she had to do, and made sure that her children all graduated from high school. I have pictures from my grandmother and two of my aunts, their high school graduation pictures from Spartanburg, South Carolina from 1947 and 48. That is an awesome find. You don't think about these things, but Black women in the South graduating with high school diplomas and going to college up north. And they always went home. They always went back to take care of mama, always sent money back to take care of mama. That, that folks, is the world that I think our ancestors, our female ancestors, wanted us to go in. You know, it's a powerful thought when you think about it. It's you sit back and you go, wow, what was life really like? And can I make a difference in someone's life so it will be better than the life we're in right now?
Wow.
You know?
So how do those experiences help you to reach higher heights and then go beyond higher heights? So let's start with the reach. With that type of foundation, what did it do to allow you to reach the heights you've reached?
Um, honestly, I want to make sure, like I said before, I didn't grow up with the most cushiest of backgrounds. Sad to say, my mother started driving for Metro. And something that most people didn't realize back in the 70s and 80s, most Metro bus drivers kind of did drugs. Sorry to say, folks, they did. They drove you around on a Metro bus doing drugs. And I had to figure out how to be the daughter and the mother as I got older. And what it taught me was it taught me that responsibility that I know a lot of people say, well, so your mom was on drugs. Girl, everybody's mom was on drugs. But when you're an only child and you were raised by all women, it was literally a village of raising. Um, One thing I can tell you that affects, I think most people don't realize, my mother started doing drugs when I was 13. She kept driving for Metro for about another 6 or 7 years. But I had to quickly grow up, make sure I got straight A's, and make sure that I had an opportunity to lift other people up in the future. So as soon as my grandmother permitted, yeah, I said that, um, I got a job, and I started understanding and looking at people for who they were. Now, where I grew up in Lanham, Maryland, I grew up in Riverdale, Maryland, but most of my friends lived in Lanham, Maryland. It was looking at growing up from a Black girl's perspective when all my friends were white. Um, showed me some differences in our cultures that are starkly strange. Um, Conrad is probably watching this. Really strange. Like cursing in front of my aunt's grandmother or my mother or any adult would would instantly I don't know if y'all have ever felt a wet switch on your behind. Nope. Nope. I am not that one. I think that scared me enough that even today there were things that my grandmothers told me never to do. Hey, Seko, they dead, and I'm still afraid to do them. I'm afraid they might come out the grave and chase me down with one of those speed whips. But I was amazed that as a black woman, a black teenager, that my friends could stay out till 2 o'clock in the morning, and here I had to be in by the time the lights came out on the street. Um, it's a strange difference. But even my white cousins had different rules than I did. Finding out that no, it's not acceptable for a young lady to have a boyfriend at 16. You can have boyfriends, but you don't need a boyfriend because we're not running a farm. We don't have to go work a farm. So therefore, you don't need to marry a man until you are well out of college. That was the rule. So of course, I had boy friends, and it was interesting because my grandma would tell them in a heartbeat, a peck on the cheek is fine. Anywhere in this area is too close for comfort. And if I find anywhere in this area has been touched by a boy, I got some reaching out and touching I can do. Didn't have to worry about it. you know, but I can tell you, I think a lot of people don't realize that the girls of today are being raised at a different standard and a less stringent standard than we were raised. From the clothing they wear to the words that they say in front of other adults. Let me tell you something. What happened to the village? My daughters know if I even think they said a bad word, they got electronics that are worth so much money and so much. What's the thing? What's the word I'm looking for, Seiko? Taking their phones is the equivalent of spanking. I have never had to spank my kids. All I have to do is say, I'm taking a game. I get cries like I hit them. You know, um, my husband actually, my husband did something I thought was the probably the wrongest thing ever. Two of my daughters, we went into a store. Remember, Brad? It was like it was like a Walmart, but I think Zayres or Ames or something right before they closed, and
Okay.
it was one of these type. It was Circuit City something, and we were in the store. My girls decided they were going to act up. Now, my husband and I had a long discussion about if we get them a flip phone, one of the little cheap flip phones, that it was on a condition that they always do right. Well, for some reason, they forgot that. And I watched my husband take the phones out of their hands and put it in two other kids' hands and say, "Can they have these phones?" And the lady was like, sure. You got 1 month's use out of them, and then you're gonna have to take over the bill." He gave their phones away. We ain't never have that
Good
problem
daddy.
again.
Good
Never
daddy.
again.
Good daddy. Salute that.
You
Salute
know,
that, pops.
that's strong man. But I think where a women's world, we are we if the okay, if there are more women in the world than men. We know that because I mean there are plenty of women who cannot find a boyfriend or a man because there's just really none available. And unfortunately, those who can't find a man who's available usually come after men who aren't available. I can tell you this. We now are in a situation where women are saying, I don't need a man. I want a man. And if I get a man that helps me with the needs that I have, then I am solidified. And I'm going to tell you, that's a dangerous precedence. We women have been fighting for the good fight as far back as in slavery. I'm a little shocked when people go, Aunt Jemima, and Uncle Ben. They're nothing but Uncle Tom's, and I'm like, no, stop. Learn your history about these people. When we talk about the mammies that were in the house, those mammies made sure the field slaves got food. Those Uncle Toms made sure you got that vacation or that Sunday off. You know, we need to make sure that our children know our history and how women, no matter what race, has protected, grew, molded, and presented their children out to the world to be better people. And you'll be amazed how many women, especially I want to be really resourceful in this wording, um, have taken the time to not only present their children in a way to the world, but make sure that their children are presented in a way that it does not affect who they are. So this is a strange story. I'm gonna do a little connection here, Seiko. Ready? Okay. I
I'm
have
ready.
a puppy, and I was training my dog today, and the trainer said something that really, you know, bing. Oh wait, I got it. Wait a minute, Seiko, I got it. I got to turn my light bulb on. I got you. Bing. It's a light switch. It's a big old light switch. It turned on, and what she said was, I am amazed at how many people think that just because you train that dog not to do, that dog won't do when you're not looking. And she said, you don't want to punish your dog into submission where they only do what you want them to do in front of you. You want them to have their own independent thought to make sure they can do when you need them to do it. And I was like, wow, wow, this is my fur baby. She's officially my seventh daughter. And I can tell you, there was a dog at the Petco. When we walked in, Yoshi was calm. Just like when you walk into a toy store, your kids are calm until they see a toy or they see something that just makes them forget. Yoshi forgot I was standing there and walked and tried to protect me and the trainer from a more aggressive dog. Well, when I was on a campaign trail, I left my daughters with one of my assistants. And I was very proud of my daughters because someone approached them and tried to get them solicited information out of them, specifically their phone numbers. And I remember my daughters did the right thing. They called my name, they stood in front of me as if they were protecting me and said, well, this is my mom. If you want my phone number, you give me whatever you need to give me through my mom. That means I raised them right. And that's what we as women have to do to get our girls and young ladies and other women to higher heights, to better careers, to affordable, suitable housing. There's no reason for anybody to live in anything that's less than desirable. We as women have to reach higher heights together and stop the whole, oh, I got it. I'm right here, but I'm gonna keep you pushing you down. You remember the crab effect, Seiko.
Right,
You
right.
remember it's I hate to say it's more dangerous than women. It's much more dangerous than women. And women and I you know I am in two groups that are all women, and they're beautiful, intelligent, magnificent beings that are in this group. And I'm gonna give you one. My Eastern Star Troop, my mother's mother, my great
Okay.
grandma, and all of the females, all were Eastern Star. And my cousin and I had, we thought about it, we kept putting it off for years. So it's been about 9 years since we decided we were going to try to be Eastern Stars, because we knew that that sisterhood was something that she's the only child. I'm an only child. She's my sister cousin. And we learned, I mean, we remembered what my great grandma used to say, although she had dementia in the end, she would say things that now we understand. You are your sister's keeper. Um, Women are not today, aren't their sister's keepers. It's always what's in it for me. What can I use you for? We have to do better than this. And it comes down to our ancestral traits. You know, back in slavery days, a sister would hide a baby from another woman, to protect that woman, especially if the child was that of the um, slave owner. If you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, if that child was the child of a slave owner, you didn't want the mistress to find out that that baby was another one by the master. They would hide these children, and that's what sisterhood was about. I got a question for you, Seiko. Do you know why we as Black people always call people who are not blood related to us auntie and uncle?
Hmm. No. Now I know we always have had play cousins, so I've had play cousins, and yeah, and I guess by extension, their parents were
Ooh,
auntie and
there you
uncle.
go.
I'll,
Are you
all
back?
right,
Okay, I see you.
okay,
Do
I'm
you
here.
know
I'm here.
why we
Oh,
all people? Okay,
think we're having issues with you. Go right to the answer. Go right to the
you
answer.
ready?
Why?
We call people who are not related to us auntie and uncle because back in the day, because we did not know who our family ties were, we ended up making new ties. We created family. So when you go into a Black neighborhood, oh, that's my cousin. Oh, wait, he's not my blood cousin, but he's my cousin. Okay. Um, it was often to build those new families back up. And it carried on generation to generation. I'm tell you, as a genealogist, it drove me crazy. Um, I had done family trees for people, for women in particular, who go, "Yeah, my aunt Joanne, yeah, she died. She was 101. Aunt Joanne was no kin to her, not even a little bit, not even a fifth cousin, like not at all." And I would have to explain to people, Uncle Joe was your father's best friend that he drank beer or whatever you call moonshine with back in the day.
Mhm.
So Uncle Joe's children are not your cousins. You know, I hate to say it. Slavery created a new dynamic of what the definition of family meant. A woman, oh, so my this is a saying that my aunt used to say. So my aunt Wanda and I've been doing genealogy for now 33 years. And when I first started, my aunt Wanda and I would go on these adventures to trace family trees, go to cemeteries, um, look up headstones, go to the archives and spend 3, 4 weeks at the archives all day, every day, trying to find people in different familiar situations. Because when you do the census, do your census, people. I need you to do your census. When they do your census, they collect your name, who you are, your race, um, what you did for a living, your I mean, it's just little simple things, where you were born and where your mother was born. And the reason why this was happening, we needed a way to know who was where. But there's one saying in genealogical world that is true. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
My mother would say that whenever she got upset with my dad.
Ooh, dang.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
can't even do that with
yeah.
my husband. All of them look like him. Um,
Well,
but
we look like my pops too, so um,
yeah,
if
but and
it
you
was,
know what's
partic-
amazing? It's amazing that all Black families have these conversations. Am I right? Did y'all not have these same conversations when you were growing up?
yeah, Yeah, we did. We did. So that leads us back to Beyond Higher Heights, and It's a Woman's World. You were raised primarily by women. You've learned
Yes.
some life lessons. And um, what's your message to some of the younger women who might be watching and going through some of the hardships and challenges that you overcame?
So I can tell you, being the child of a person who was a drug addict, and they say once a drug addict, always a drug addict. I don't believe that. Um, you have to understand that it's up to you. You are the determining factor in your life, in your future. First, don't ever say school isn't worth it. School is your tool. Your education buys you a ticket into places where most people never get to go. I can tell you that. I can tell you that from personal experience. Get the education. It is your ticket to the world. It's your ticket not only to seeing things and meeting people, but to figuring out some of the key lessons of life that you need. Because when you get over 50, you're going to look back and you're going to go, wow, I could have did this. I should have done that. Don't ever second guess what you want to do. If you want to own a business, hey, let me tell you something. Yes, owning a business is easy. Running a business is hard. Go out and get that business degree. Even if it's an associate's degree, get a degree. Because like we've always talked about beyond higher heights. Let me tell you something. There's a black glass ceiling. You don't want to stop there. You want to crush through it so you can pull up other young black women in the future. That is how we do it. And make sure, I want to say it, and I know some school systems going to blow their top over this one. It is not the teacher's job to babysit. You want your kids to go to school to get that little bit of nugget of learning, but when that child gets home, you become the teacher because every lesson your child has ever learned started with you. From the first time they laid your eyes on you as a mother to when they started walking. Yeah, they say dad at first. Hey, that's just the way the vocalization happens in children. You are the key to their success. And I'm going to tell you, Seko, it does bother me that when you have a young football star or a tennis star and it's a male and they go they yell, "Hey mama," right? Well, it's funny. You never hear girls doing that. Have you ever seen an athlete, a female athlete go, "Hey mama"? They never do it. Think about it. I was an athlete. That was the I was like, wow. We as women don't even give our mothers credit when we are good in a sport. We don't go, "Thank you, daddy," either. We actually never mention it. That's part of the glass ceiling. I'm gonna tell you some heroes that y'all need to be looking up to because they're doing something better. They're doing more than just sports. Serena and Venus Williams are business women. They took those sports, they got their education, they took those sports, and then these women are business owners. Um, I mean, you can go down the line. Don't give up on your dreams. Get out there and find what that dream is and what you have to do with it to achieve that dream. And if you need help, call me. I'll help you. I'll help you get on that path. I don't care where you live because I put me through school. I put me through school again, and again. Yes, 5 degrees. I put me through school because I knew I had to do what I had to do to succeed. Don't count on nobody else to help you live your dream. That dream is yours. That is your dream. That is your goal. And if you don't know, there's a saying or a quote that I always quote in front of, especially young girls in elementary school. Um, a goal is a dream with a deadline. So, do I have my book down here? Get yourself a nice little journal And I want you to write down every single dream you have. I don't care how minute it is. And I call mine my life book. Um, from career to people who I want to meet. There you go. So there you go. Simple notebook. Who you want to meet, what you want to do. Okay, most of my life dreams have been met. I haven't met Obama yet. I'm working on it. I haven't met Michelle Obama yet. I'm working on it. I have graduated with several degrees. I have owned my own home. I have been debt free, and then I realized that being debt free is harder than not being debt free. But my debt is all surrounding things that I truly, truly need, like making sure my daughters are set for school and what have you. But you know what? Pay your debt down and only use it when you have to. Um, Make sure that you focus your notes and your dreams in that notebook to include, and I'm going to say it, and people think it's nutty. You know, in the Bible, it says, when you believe, you ask, you believe, you shall receive. Everything I've ever asked for, and I believed I was getting, I have gotten. Every single thing. It may not have happened in a day, but within a time frame, it has happened. And when I go back to my book, I go, oh my, I did that. Okay, I'll give you a great one. Seko, here you go. I wanted to meet the House Speaker. Do you know I put that in my notebook 8 years ago? 8 years ago, when I did the Women's March and I met Nancy Pelosi, I had forgotten I had put that in my book. And the next thing you know, I was at home one day, it was raining, and I checked off. I had met Nancy Pelosi, and I met the House Speaker, and it not only fulfilled me checking off several boxes, but a lot of boxes. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, Seko, I got another thing for the young ladies. If you are in a church or a member of a church, if you are a member of a sorority, if you are a member of the National Coalition of Black Women or the NAACP, and you better join the NAACP. They have student rates. Join ACLU, or even in high school. Don't just be in the room where it happens. Be a part of the conversation where it happens. Join your Democratic or your Republican committees. Get in there and make a difference. Your voices need to be heard. And if you are a Black woman, your voice definitely needs to be heard. Stop counting on someone else to speak for you, because you might find out they're speaking about something totally different than what you think they are speaking about. Speak for yourself. Go to board education meetings. Go to the board of supervisor meetings. Go to the police meetings. They like to hear your opinions. Go be a part of your community instead of just in the community. The reason why our civil rights are going backwards is because a lot of us, and I'm going to put it back on us women, have rested on our laurels, because women are the most, I'm going to say it, Seko, Black women are the most educated group in this country. Black women. But yet Black women make less money than all other groups except Latinos. We got to change that. We make 80 cents on the dollar of any man. And I can tell you, to get where I have been, I've had to pretty much say, are you going to give me a raise? Are you going to pay me more than the person who just started, who just graduated high school, or college? If you're not, I'm gone. And I'm going to tell you, every job that you go to work, make sure you are getting at least a 10 to 15% raise in salary on each job you change to. It's not a goal of going and staying at the same salary wherever you go work. It's the goal of going and reaching higher heights. But get a daggone degree. And I'll give you one more tidbit. My grandfather was a businessman. His mother actually, okay, this is something I had to find out the hard way what this meant. They own traveler homes in DC. Well, she was a businesswoman.
Traveling homes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, she owned several in DC and several in New Jersey. And these were homes for people who were on the road, and they were sort of kind of like brothels, I heard. I never went
Sort of,
into any
kind
of
of.
them.
Sort of,
Yeah,
kind of.
sort of, kind of. I mean, a lot of people went there to sleep, but a lot of people didn't go there to sleep. Um, but she was a businesswoman, and she was a woman of color back in the 20s who had a Polaroid camera and took thousands of pictures. I have those pictures. If you go to my Facebook page, you can see 1926 for a black woman who had money, where all her friends were just to the nine, and I'm scratching my head going, how did someone out of Caroline County get all of this in 1926? But also, she did a real imitation of life type thing where she denied her family because she didn't want her men to find out that she was truly black because she passed. My grandfather thought he was white until someone brought to his attention that my great great grandmother was as black as night, beautiful as can be, but she had 14 children, and the ones who were light stayed with her. The ones who were dark, they shipped them to DC to work for a living. That's how they protected their legacy. But my grandfather, he told me when I couldn't have been more than about 13 or 14 years old, he said, there's a condition that every person needs to handle. I'm going to give you the woman's speech. If you're 18 years old and you're not in school, you should be making 18,000 a year. That is not enough money to buy a home, pay your bills, do nothing. You can't do anything with 18,000 a year these days. Once you turn 30, you need to be making 30,000. Once you turn 50, okay, let's go back to 40. You go to 40, you should be making at least 120,000. You get to 50, 150,000. Why? Because that's what white goal is. We don't have that kind of goal in Black America. We need to stick to that. So you understand, 18,000 at 18. By the time you are 25, you should be making 25,000 minimum, 50,000 if you have a college degree. 30, you need to be making at least 60. And you keep going. The whole purpose is you have to set the precedence and do the right thing. You have to do it. No one's going to do it for you. Not your mama, not your daddy, not your cousins, nobody. Woman's world. It is definitely our world. And we can bring the brothers up with us. You like that, right, Seko?
All right. They're going to bring the brothers up with us. All right. All right. I'm digging that. I'm digging that. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 2 of Beyond Higher Heights, where Vangie gets a chance to sit back and just tell some of the stories of her life, the experiences that she's had, share that, sow into other people's lives. She's done some phenomenal things and she's experienced some phenomenal things. So her message to you is she wants you to continue reaching for higher heights and then go beyond. Last words, Vangie.
That's right. You know, over the last 3.5 years running for Congress, you learn more about people than you thought you knew. I thought I knew people. I thought that in general, people were accepting. And what people need to understand, everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. And I don't mean a negative past. I mean, like, you have a past. You grew up in a certain atmosphere. You have family members who did A, B, or C. That was the past. Strive for the future, because right now in these times, if you're not striving for the future and setting a goal for the future, you're never going to reach beyond where you are today. You know, our lives are not stagnant, they are always perpetually moving. And I'm a firm believer that if we all work together, we can accomplish so much more together. So please reach out, go to my Facebook pages. I know my personal page, I think I'm almost full again. I clean it out every once in a while. But my fan page, Vangie Williams, and then I have my Vangie for Congress page. I have my Vangie real estate page or realtor page. Please go to my fan page and ask questions. Follow me. Because what I would love to do is have these questions. And if you have a question, ask it live. Because I'm going to tell you something. If someone says something rude to you, I'm going to check them on it. I will check them on it because I have a rule. You treat people with respect on my page and I won't block you. But please, by all means, reach out, ask questions, and be the strength that your family needs. You deserve that. They deserve it.
Wow.
That's
Be
it.
the strength that your family needs. Be the strength that your family needs. All right, you've been watching
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Higher Heights with Vangie Williams. We'll be catching you again soon. So until that time, keep reaching, keep going beyond.